Depending upon how you grew up or whose advice you follow, debt might be a four-letter word to you. Credit cards, fancy cars, purses, shoes, while fashionable, can rack up a fair amount of debt. But what if all debt isn't bad? I grew up with two entrepreneurial parents who each own their own businesses. And when I was in elementary and middle school, my mom owned a blueprinting shop. Before she owned it, she actually worked there as a manager. And the owner, who was named Jack, was a smart businessman. And he always used to say, "It's not what you make, it's what you spend." Now, I never personally heard him say it, but I do remember my mom repeating it and using it often. And it's really stuck with me because it's true. If you make $5 million per year and spend $6 million, you're broke. If you make $50,000 a year and spend $30 million, you've got a nice little amount of money to put towards savings and retirement. But if we go beyond the basics of living within your means, how does debt factor in? I think we can mostly agree that blowing your entire paycheck on frivolous gadgets and toys, or taking on tons and tons of credit card debt and loans for depreciating assets like boats and cars, is a recipe for disaster. But what kind of debt, if any, is good? Some would say that there is no kind of good debt. They're not necessarily wrong. Owning everything outright is a safe place to be. But I and many others might argue that it leaves you severely under-leveraged. And here's what I mean by that. Good debt to some is something like a house or perhaps an investment property. Something that you put money into, but that gains value or appreciates over time. And even though you do have to go into debt to acquire them sometimes, it's a smarter debt than, say, getting a loan or maxing out a credit card for the latest surround sound system, which in a matter of years is going to be worth far less than what you paid for it. When it comes to debt, you always want to think about what the item is going to do over time. Is it going to appreciate, gain in value like a property, or is it going to depreciate, lose value like a car, like an iPhone, like a designer pair of jeans? If something is an appreciating asset, like a property, going into some debt in order to acquire it may not necessarily be a bad thing. It all depends on how you're leveraged and making sure you don't spread yourself too thin. So if you're looking to get into the rental business and investment properties, maybe you can afford to go and buy 5 right now and start renting them and see a ton of cash flow. But if you've got those 5 properties with loans and the only way you can keep them is if every single property is rented every single day of the year, then that's not good debt, because that's more than likely going to come back to bite you. Now, that's a deeper topic for another day, discussing how you can leverage debt to create wealth. But the main point is, some debt can be good. Just pay attention to where you're spending your money, because it's what you're spending your money on that can make all the difference. And it's those small differences that are going to add up to massive changes for you and for your future generations. I'm a huge proponent of generational wealth, creating it and using real estate to get there. And what's really exciting to me is that there are really simple ways to get that started and ways that are attainable, even if you're not a multimillionaire. I'm Lindsey Johnson, your resource for all things real estate. See you next time.